Do you know how many pieces you've done?
How many cars?
Yeah.
Oof. I mean, I think I'll just give you what we have. We have 30 in the shop right now. Some real small. I mean, you can see walking around. Some a whole lot bigger. Some we haven't even started yet. Huge projects, I think we've done somewhere from 20 to 30 in that range. Really big projects. They're taking years. Yeah. So I know, 15 years in business, you're not producing a ton of cars.
Exactly.
You're producing a ton of quality cars. Yeah. And that's what we kind of specialize in.
So tell me how you got involved in this.
So just in cars in general, I'll give you the brief when I was a young kid story with Matchbox cars on the kitchen floor with my dad.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Smashing them, you know what I mean? Got into that. I was lucky enough to have a next door neighbor that had a restoration shop.
That helps.
It does. Work there in middle school, high school, emptying trash cans. Slowly picked up skills as I did it, and cars have always been my passion. But when I got to do that job, that's when it clicked. This is something I really want to do.
I started out life as a mechanic. I've always been a mechanic. Started out working on cars, went from that to working on aircraft, went from that to working on watches. So I've always been a mechanic. I just kind of downsized it, and I do micromechanics now, precision micromechanics. Fascination, I've always loved cars. I always loved cars, I loved aircraft, anything that goes fast.
Yeah.
And it's walking in here today it brings back so many memories, and we'll probably touch on a couple of them.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you're here.
Along the way. So talk to me about, I see a lot of what you do here walking around. You just don't do restorations, but you're doing a lot of mods too as well.
So we specialize in the pro touring,
okay.
I guess look, high
Absolutely.
horsepower, all modern suspension, modern interiors, incredibly user friendly. Not like the days of old with the carbs and you're always out there adjusting. This is get in and burn some rubber.
And hit it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, what do you see as far as your clients? Do people request cars? Do they bring stuff to you and ask you to, this is what I want? Or do they bring it to you and say, hey, this is the memory I had. I had a memory of driving, a 70 Nova or something. What can you do for me? Is that what they do? Or
I've had a lot. I'd say half and half. Half is sentimental value. We just built a huge pro touring car for a guy that had a '67 Camaro, had it stolen, bought a new one, and then we redid it for him. In huge 700 horsepower.
It's not like he had it originally, was it?
Yeah, and then you have this guy here. He had this car done already.
Okay.
Brought it in. It's a Chevy 350. Now we're putting an 800 horsepower Mass Motorsport supercharged engine in. Going over the whole car, repainting it. So
that first customer just had to be. You had to think that was never going to happen. You have these visions. Who am I going to be able to find that's going to back this build?
So the first customer fell into my lap. It was the second customer I was
okay.
worried about. And then once I had the second and it evolved a little bit, I'll be honest with you, it was tough. 2008, the market crashed,
yep.
all that. I was pretty much ready to fold in. I forged ahead, and then I'd say recently when I moved in here the last 2-3 years, it's really picked up. We've really started hammering down on social media, all the sites, getting out to the shows, getting out to the public. Not a lot of people know we're here still, and that's 15 years we've been just in this, area, so.
This is your 15th anniversary.
Yeah.
And so where did you see the first challenges come from? And where did you decide to break off into the mod customs?
So I started with, the Volkswagens.
I saw one back there.
Yeah, that's so not my passion anymore. It was back in the day. The challenge I think back then was those customers didn't have. I hate to say, like they didn't have the kind of money
sure.
to spend to build the kind of car that in my head I thought was a cool car. And then I guess my challenge is finding those customers that want to build the vision that's in my head.
Challenges in watchmaking have been, again, not only finding the clientele to purchase the watches, but we have now our challenges are trying to find the parts for the vintage watches. Vintage watch parts they're extinct. There's nobody out there doing what they do for the cars. They're not reproducing the parts. They're not making improvements on the parts, and everybody wants their watches as original as they can. So my challenge is trying to find original parts to fix watches, and a lot of the times, probably 80% of the time, I can't get the parts. So I either have to manufacture the part myself on a lathe, all by hand, no CNC, or I have to try to find what other watches use this part along this lifespan, take it out of there, recondition that part, and then put it into the watch.
That's also a challenge of mine.
Yeah.
Find it, not so much the pro touring cars, because we're just putting all new ones.
Right.
But when we get to the old ones, say the Marauder, the 2 flags on the fenders,
Yep.
you can't find them.
I imagine so.
Yeah, impossible.
And
And
nobody-
2 little flags.
Yeah. And no one's going to make
Could
that
stop a
because
whole build.
There's not enough.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not enough of those. There's not enough of those cars.
No.
To warrant producing them.
Exactly.
That's, like I said, it's a gorgeous car.
But the challenges are the fun part.
Yeah, it is. It is, and then it's a satisfaction also.
Yeah,
When you're
once you find it.
when you find it and you're able to put the thing back together, and
Yeah.
to me, it's when I put a watch together, and as soon as I put power on it, watch it come alive.
Right.
It's got to be the same thing when you turn a key.
Oh, yeah. It's huge adrenaline rush. And then you just want to smoke the tires, but
Of course.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Who comes to you? How do people find you?
Most of the clientele, funny enough, are business owners. There's like maybe more of the high-end clientele, doctors, dentists, maybe the guys that have the money. And I
Exactly.
wouldn't say don't care about what they spend, but have a little more in the slush fund maybe than some other guys.
That's one of the things too that we do in the business that we're in as well. We have a lot of people that have become very successful, and their mark of their success is either buying a vintage timepiece that's something they had at one time or something they've always coveted, or something that shows they've arrived. And we have those people. And it's the same thing where we probably have, somebody, that they either had the car, 30 years ago, 40 years ago now. They had the car, or they've always wanted the car. They've always, desired that car. And so those are probably the people that come to you because now they can afford for how they want it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a guy who has 300 cars in his collection. Once we finish one, and these won't be the huge builds, but each build is half of a huge build. We're just fixing up and making the car better. And as soon as we get that done, he brings another one. And as soon as we get that one done, another one. Right now we have 5 of his cars.
In the watch field, we try to rebuild and give people what they want. Try to give them their dreams as well.
Right.
And where do you see like the clientele? Do you see any correlation between the clientele? Again, we have mechanical timepieces where we have, parts working in perfect symphony, together, or they don't work. And same thing, we can have a very upset customer if it doesn't work. Do you see the same kind of thing?
It's 100% the same.
Yeah.
I mean, my whole goal not only is to build toys, really, but it's the customer relations. That's a huge part of it.
It has
That's
to be.
why I encourage everybody to come in all the time, as much as they want. If they ever have a problem, whenever. If they have the car for 3 years and I don't hear from them, they have a problem, just call me. We're huge on that here. And we fix it and give it right back to them.
There you go.
Yeah, there's no questions. I don't care what they did. But yeah, it's a huge part of it. And then they'll be back. You treat them great, they'll be back.
That's one thing I found too, doing a restoration. I see people, they want everything documented. Where I'll take the watch apart and I'll have all the parts laid out, everything documented on the watch, how it's going back together. Some people even ask for videos that we've done, like a time lapse of how the watch goes back together, components I've changed, stuff like that. So I assume you probably get the same questions, don't you? They want to see pictures along the way?
Yeah, I hired a guy just to take pictures along the way, update the website. So they want to see it built.
Yeah.
We'll text them pictures during the week. When we cut a quarter off, we get a picture. As we're building the car piece by piece, you can see it. If you put them all together, come apart and go back together.
Timeline.
Yeah.
Your timeline of what's happening on the.
Yeah, exactly. You can see what stage it's in, if the bodywork has started yet. How close to paint. That's really part of it. To keep them involved, you have to keep them involved to keep them excited.
Exactly.
To make them want to finish the car.
Yeah, that's got to be a scary thing too when you start something and it's not going to be done for a year.
It's not scary to me, but to them it has to be. But keeping that interest and letting them make the decisions, some of the decisions, or guiding them into the right decisions.
I do the same thing.
Since you build the same car almost the same way all the time, it makes it easier. Like a Nova and a Camaro and all, they're all it's a car and you want all that modern stuff, but just to guide the customer to the good products, you know, and steer them away.
And the same thing, you can probably steer them away when you know they're going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, I do the same thing on a watch. You know, if I know, you know, well, I want to change the hands. No, you don't want to change the hands because you want to keep the vintage look of it. We have a lot of the vintage stuff. Nobody wants them refinished anymore. 10 years ago, we were polishing everything and changing everything, and you know, now it's just entirely different.
Yeah, you can't build one of these cars and then put the old school mirrors back on.
Right.
It'll ruin the whole project.
Yeah.
It'll ruin the entire project. Just one, two little pieces will ruin the whole thing. And
that's where it comes into where you have to steer that customer.
Right.
You know, it's a delicate steering too. We cater to our clientele. We have to, and but it gives me a satisfaction as well. You know, anytime I can present something to somebody and say, you know, here's your timepiece restored. You know, it's a different kind of satisfaction. You hate to see something leave, but I never want to see it again either.
Yeah, actually, the orange one that you guys saw out there, the customer hasn't seen it fully together. Mm-hmm. We have a show in 2 weeks where we're going to take it, and he's going to come and see it and see what he thinks. So,
what is that? 69?
That's a 69.
It's 69, yeah.
Yep.
And it's again, you know, seeing the cars. I haven't been around them as much as I used to, and it just brings back so many good memories, though.
Yeah,
and
I mean that suspense all updated, the whole entire car, all modern.
Well, I saw the drivetrain was too.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
all computer controlled, everything.
And what motor's in that by chance?
So that's a 525 horse LS3.
Okay.
So, but I mean that's, you know, for the car, yeah, it weighs more than maybe the newer cars. Who knows? They probably weigh the same, but the horsepower. I mean,
yeah, the horsepower is going to
cook the tires right off.
And with the new updated suspension, it's still going to handle, even though you're putting that added weight in the front.
Yeah, I mean, we run Detroit speed. You can take corners at speed. I mean, they're like little slot cars.
That is so cool.
It's like a go-kart. It's oversized go-kart. It's fantastic.
And it still has the vintage look to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's the best.
That's about it.
I know there can't be any set time to do a restoration or a rebuild like this. You know, what are your projections?
I mean, the least amount of time that I give is a year.
Good.
Unless we're doing, you know, simple engine work, change the trans out, which we do. That's really just to keep the guys busy. But the main builds, year and a half, 2 years, because you know, they keep adding on.
Absolutely.
Once you get so far and they see how it's coming together, they want more, and then they want more, and that's all part of it.
Do your clients check in? You know, do you send them updates of how the car's coming?
So, yeah, we hired a guy that, you know, constantly updates the customers, constantly updates the website, and I have some that'll stop in every week, even if we're not working on it, which is great because they'll bring coffee and all that stuff. But you know, even if they're not working on it, and they'll hang out. We'll go over the car. Maybe they'll fine tune it a little bit. You know, we'll bounce ideas off each other. You have to have that good
idea because you're working. You can't say you're working with a blank slate, but you're working with a design. But where you limit it, there is no limit, like you said.
Money is the limit.
Money's the limit.
Money's
there
the
you
limit.
go.
Yeah.
I do restorations on antique watches as well. I'm working on a mid-60s Rolex Daytona. The watch is valued at almost close to $500,000, and those people want that watch to look like it was never touched. Where this is a totally different thing. This is where the car looks like, on the exterior, it looks like it came out of the showroom, but there's nothing underneath it that does.
No. I mean, we build them to get beat on.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we delivered one to one customer, and the first thing got in and just smoked it down the street.
I love it.
That's it.
I mean, that's got to be a satisfied of you to do.
That's what we build them for.
Exactly. It's got to be a lot of fun. You know, it's going through, and I like the idea that you're putting the latest suspensions on them, on the cars. Because I was walking around looking at some of the shells and stuff and just seeing the components that you're using, and it's all high tech. You know, everything is high tech now.
Yeah, we'll go through, I mean, some of the restorations, like the older hot rods, we don't really update, but what we're really into is all high tech suspensions. I mean, we have 5 chassis being built now for 5 projects that aren't even here yet. And they're all custom, it's all independent front and rear suspension, all the high-end components.
How do you know where to stop?
I don't want to stop. I want to go. I mean, I hate to see them go. You know, you build such a passion for building them, and you have them for so long. You know, we'll have these cars for a year, 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. You never know that They become part of you.
What do you do as far as your testing of the cars? And do you?
Well, we'll get them tuned. Obviously, we road test them.
That's
We
gotta be
hammer
a
on
lot
them a
of
bit.
fun.
Yeah, you have to hammer on them a bit.
Exactly.
Because you
break
know
it.
they're going to.
Yeah, you want to break it before they
Oh,
break it.
I'd rather break it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we try to break it.
What's the longest it's taken to throw something together?
So we did Blue Ford F-250 for Kip Folks at Under Armour, and that one took 3 years.
Okay.
3 years. That was when we were a lot smaller crew. I mean, that was our very first huge build.
Okay.
So
Is that the one that you'd say put you on the map then, or?
put me on the map. It's still #1 on the website.
Okay.
It's still, people still are reposting it all over social media, and that one I think it's been done for 2 years now.
It's very, very cool.
Yeah,
Very
so.
cool. Tell me what's your most satisfying project?
Satisfying, I would say.
What car did you hate to see go?
A black Camaro that we finished last May, but I was lucky enough that, I mean, the customer, I have a fantastic relationship. You know, we'll talk every week still. He doesn't even have a car here anymore. So that one took a year and a half. 3 to 4 people on it constantly, and then we toured the whole country together.
Nice.
Last summer. I went to SEMA, you know, all the big shows, the Street Machine of the Year. We did all those shows, and I guess that one really helped put us on the scene for pro touring.
Okay.
And that's why I think we have 9 Camaros in the shop now.
Yeah,
Just
I
Camaro
saw a
builds.
lot of Camaros.
Yeah.
And
And
none of
I
them
didn't
look like
ask for
Camaros
it.
underneath it.
Yeah, they just keep coming. Yeah, there's no Camaro underneath
No,
it.
no
really.
Camaro underneath. You got
No.
Camaro bodies on top of high-tech
it.
chassis,
That's all we do.
which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you source the cars yourself, or do you have to, or do people bring them to you and say, "This is what I want done"? I know how you said that on the Nova.
Right.
You know, he wanted to change. If somebody calls you up and says, you know, I want a, because I saw it in the back, I'm looking for a '63 Marauder.
Right.
You know, your phone can't be ringing off the hook looking for a '63 Marauder.
No.
You know, there can't be 100 of them left.
Yeah, I mean, we source them. I have 15 in stock, I would say in stock, just in my personals that are, you know, there to sell. Only if they build them here, though.
Okay.
That's how. But yeah, as far as if, you know, somebody's looking for something specific, I can find it.
Okay.
And I have guys all over the country. I'll just call, see what they have, see if they can find, especially like the crew cab we did. Ever since we've done that, that rare crew cab market has come, and I've been able to find these crew cabs for these people.
I can't imagine what it takes to marry, you know, high technology and with, you know, old technology. You know,
A lot of computers.
and wrapper, a lot of computers.
A lot of computers.
At one point, I had a '63 Impala. That was my high school project, and I rebuilt the entire drivetrain, learned how to drive in it. I took my driving test in it, and that was, you know, I walked in, the first car I saw was a '63 Impala, you know, which was just so cool. I had a '70 GTX 440 with the air grabber, and you know, I could tell you stories about that. When I bought that car, it had like 5,000 miles on it, and it was sitting behind a house, and somebody just parked it there, and they never drove it. And I got into a lot of trouble with that car. But what saved me was the air grabber, because I put the hood down one time and actually got pulled over. And they said, "Where's the car with the hood scoop?"
There you
And
go.
I said, "We're looking for the car with the hood scoop." And I said, "Don't look at that square on the hood. Leave me alone."
That's
And I actually got away on that one.
Yeah. I started with a '64 Impala. That was my very first build. '64 Impala.
I was actually born in '64, and that's why I was like the '63s.
Okay. My favorite's the '62, actually.
Okay.
I like the back line on it.
Yep. Yeah, the '62s were gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it's again, I was always more of a Chevy person.
Okay.
You know, growing up and stuff, they were the easiest things to build, easiest
Okay.
things and cheapest things to work on. But I always had a fascination with the Ford products.
Yep.
You know, just I think they had the most beautiful lines. You know, and they didn't get the appreciation that they had.
No.
That they should have back in the '60s.
No. Yeah, the Marauders and all that are really
Marauders just
yeah,
amazing
they're
sitting back
cool
there.
cars.
That quarter panel's got
Lines you'll never see again.
yeah, that quarter panel's got to be, what, 18 feet long?
Yeah, somewhere around that.
Yeah.
I wish there was a 15-day work week. I never have enough time.
Okay.
I'm always up against the wall. And yeah, I know they're 2-3 year builds, but we have goals. We're taking these cars to shows. They have to be done by that show.
Yeah.
You know, we have a car that's not even close for Battle of the Builders, and that's 6 months out. And we probably have a year's worth of work. So I hate time. In that sense, I mean, but I don't know, I need more time. You know, honestly.
That's how it is for me too. To me, there's not enough hours in the day, and my eyes can only do so many hours in a day as well. And there's always pieces that I need to get done. There's pieces that I have to get done, which pays the bills. But then there's also pieces that I want to be able to get done, and those are the project pieces. Those are the restorations, and those always sit a little longer. They're always going to take longer. And I tell our clientele, please be patient. The work is going to be worth it, but you have to be patient with it, because if I run into a roadblock anywhere with a part, I have to source that part, I have to manufacture that part, and it's got to be indistinguishable from the original.
Yeah, I mean, I hate saying no to customers.
Exactly. Yeah, so do I.
I don't want them to go anywhere else. I want them to show them what I can do, which means I need a lot more time to get all this done and try to get ahead so I can get their stuff in. It's constant.
I know what it's like, and I wish I could say no to people too.
Yeah, I don't say no.
Sometimes I do, just because I know that the time that I'm going to have involved in a restoration or in a repair, it's not going to warrant the cost of it. The value's in the watch, but it's not going to warrant the cost, or what I'm losing in other repairs. How much work is not getting done because I'm doing this, kind of like what you spoke of as well.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Who is your inspiration in doing this? Because there have been other people doing this, forever, for as long as there have been cars. Did you have one inspiration?
So, Rad Rides by Troy, I always thought they built some pretty cool cars. I mean, obviously Chip Foose, but I focus more on Rad Rides by Troy. There's so many incredible builders out right now. I'll be honest, it's hard to pick them. Yeah, and I don't know about you, but the trends move so fast.
Yeah, they do.
So keeping up with all the new technology, all the new products, and that's almost a job in itself. I don't know if it's like that for you.
We talk about that. Actually, this week, as we're recording this, is the biggest watch show in the world in Switzerland. It's Basel. And this is when all the companies are releasing all the new watches. A lot of the watches are still keeping with the trends of vintage. So a lot of the companies, the historic companies, are coming out with watches that are still looking like they were made in the 60s. They have off-color dials and off-color luminous. So everyone's still going for that vintage look in a new timepiece. So that's something, we talk about what I do and what the companies are doing, the new companies are doing. They're reconstructing the watches from the 50s and 60s with modern technology. So it's almost like the same thing. It's
just about.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Breitling's doing it right now with the Navitimer 8. It's a vintage line, and it's with all new technology. Tudor does the same thing. So it's very cool, though.
It's just exciting to see where it's going to go.
Exactly. It's the same thing in watches.
The technology just in the last 3 years has gone insane. I'm excited to see these next 3, 4, 5 years. The technology's there. It's just getting it to work in these cars.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's probably the best.
Getting people to pay for it.
Getting people to pay for it. Yeah, it's a great challenge. Keeps us busy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's got to be fun and satisfying.
That's a blast.